Missy Elliott inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, along with DJ Kool Herc. Congratulations to both of them. So Missy becomes the first female rapper. I think Rock the Bells was posting it like that. First female rapper to enter into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Missy actually made a statement on this. She said earlier this morning, "It's times I have gotten online and seen you're irrelevant, you're a flop, you're washed up, and it crushed me at times. But God, you made me strong. I kept going and allowed my decades of work to speak for itself. I am humble. Thank you, all my supporters. I love you." Who's ever called Missy washed up and a flop?
No disrespect.
I love Missy, man. I love Missy. I think she deserves this honor, but not right now. Not right now.
Ooh, Mike.
And you
Hot take.
know, no. Let's keep it all the way a buck. Like, these past two hip hop choices for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, they feel like inclusion choices, diversity hires almost. Um,
Very problematic.
no, I'm just keeping it real, man. Like, somebody needs to explain to me how. And I'm gonna leave the tribe thing out of it. I've spoke my piece on the tribe shit or whatever because they didn't make it in this time. They were on the ballot. They're gonna put that on the fans. Not they meaning tribe, but the institution's gonna put that on the fans. Whatever. Um, I'm gonna leave tribe out of this conversation. That's a conversation for another day. But I wanna zero in on Snoop Dogg, Snoop Doggy Dogg. I don't understand why he hasn't been on this ballot yet. I think Snoop is probably the most famous rapper ever. There's no way on earth Eminem and Missy make it into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame before Snoop Dogg. If you told 16-year-old Mike in 1998 that Missy, who had Super Duper Fly out at the time, and the guy who made Hi My Name Is would make it into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame before Snoop Doggy Dogg, I would laugh at you. TD says she deserves it, Mike. Stop. Does she deserve it right now? Because if you're going to, let's just say they said, you know what, we need a female rapper in there. There's a lot going on with women empowerment, which is great. I think that's awesome stuff. Your choice has to be Lil' Kim first. If we're gonna go there, if we're gonna go wealth of catalog, impact, and how you change the course of things, because NWA is in there for that exact reason, right? NWA has two albums, but NWA's impact and how
Right.
they changed the course of hip hop and the way things are going, that's why they're there. And I think Lil' Kim should be there for the same exact reason.
I
No,
concur with
it
those.
gets no more rock star-ish than Lil' Kim. And for anybody who's been to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and you talk about like the clothes and the memorabilia and all of those things that they involve in their pieces and just the overall historic value of it, Kim brings you all those things. And the other name, and I just got to keep it all the way a buck, man. Why is Outkast not on this ballot in any of these years? Outkast came out in 1994. They've been eligible for some time now. They've actually been eligible for about 3, going on 4 years now.
Yeah, it's been a minute. It's been a minute.
So tell me how in the world a group that has had the impact that Outkast has had on the whole industry and putting the South on the map, Atlanta specifically, and Atlanta's kind of been running the game for at least 20 something years, would you say? They're
I
as
feel like the West
important.
Coast took it back for a while with TDE.
Okay, that's cool. Not radio wise though. But
We were talking about. I mean,
but yeah. It
I don't
goes.
know how proud we should be of that right now.
Yeah.
Radio
But
sucks. You know
all
what
right,
I'm
this
saying?
is the thing though. It's like Outkast is to the South as a whole what Run DMC was to the hip hop game as a whole. And I think they even took it further from a commercialized longevity standpoint. And we even talk about, just the prominence of somebody like an Andre and Big Boy all the time. I don't see how Outkast hasn't gotten consideration yet. And maybe you guys can help me in the chat. I mean, how do you guys think that Eminem and Missy Elliott get in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame before the group that's so diamond with their double disc that was the only rap group ever to actually win, album of the year at the Grammys. And not to mention being the group that put the South on the map on a commercialized level. How does Missy and Eminem's impact trump those guys?
Are you asking me? Or are you
I
asking
mean,
people?
yeah, I mean, why hasn't Snoop or Outkast been on this Rock and Roll Hall of Fame ballot yet?
The Snoop thing is a little bit. You know what, Mike? Every list that everybody does, Andre's 3000 is in everybody's top 10. It's like Rolling Stone is like the only people that don't have him in the top 10. It's like Rolling Stone and us.
And it's based on what? Outkast material, right?
That's exactly what I was about to say, Mike.
Yeah.
And if you feel that way, what are you basing that on exactly?
Exactly.
Because people are like, and here's the thing, and I think Jay-Z said it best on A Star Is Born, like a female version of Lauryn Hill. So it's like people look at the Love Below like the miseducation. I'll say this again. Tired of saying this. Miseducation got 3 rap songs, Mike, with 3 verses.
It does.
And hooks, Mike.
It does. And she got a couple rap verses on the Everything Is Everything.
A couple spare verses in. Just Everything Is Everything got a verse, Mike.
It's a dope verse too.
She just got some bar work everywhere, Mike. That's 10, Mike. That's 10 verses now. Now, as soon as you can get and play the Love Below, and you can find me 10 rap verses. The verse to Spread is that a rap? Is that a verse? Is that a rap verse?
I got my eye out. I got my eye out for those who cries out passionately. We'll do things backwardly, forwardly, horizontally. I'm too young to be
settling down.
Yeah, quick to change my mind tomorrow. To knocking up borrow your timid torso more so than your soul. Honestly, got to be how I roll. Fuck the rhythm. Tuck the rhythm under your bosom. You're the prism. Shirley Chisholm was the first. Let's rehearse. Making a baby. Put in your order. I want a baby daughter. Yeah, I know some of his verses. Dance to the tip of my tongue.
So there's Spread.
And then
there's A Day in the Life of Andre Benjamin.
And Happy Valentine's Day.
And Happy Valentine's Day.
I actually like that verse the most.
I mean, I think I like the Spread verse the most.
I like the Spread verse a lot too. Jay Short with the super chat.
So that's 2 verses, Mike. Let's count the Day in the Life of Andre Benjamin. How many bars is that? What's that, Mike?
I don't know.
About 60,
We're going to chop that up into like 20 verses or something. I don't know.
It feels like it's about 60 to 70 bars. How you feel? Feel about 60, 70 bars-ish?
Probably. You might
Maybe
have
more?
That 100
you think
bars
it's 100 bars?
Possibly. I'm going to count that. I'm going to get back with you on Friday on that.
People act like that's like, people act like he made 5 songs with that song.
Jay Short with the super chat says, I'm with you 99%, Mike. These are black artists who made music that other communities also love, but 1 in a million changed R&B. Snoop crossed over, but his music never really did like that. Huh. Y'all don't feel like Snoop's music crossed over? I see this guy, or, every time I go to like these karaoke's, right? There's always people who you wouldn't typically see as hip-hop fans doing gin and juice. I mean, it's like people know these records. You don't feel like Snoop's music crossed over. I think that's an interesting statement.
You want to know it? What if I told you like the Chronic and Doggy Style crossed over, but Snoop crossed over more as a personality, a marketing maven?
He's a rock star.
Yeah, I mean, and it's not like he doesn't make dope music, Mike, but there is very, very, like, how about this? It's like, what do you think about, Mike, what are his best singles in the modern era? Like, let's say post, like, when did, like, Drop It Like It's Hot and Beautiful and all that come out?
I would say Drop It Like It's Hot is a crossover, and that was 2004. Rhythm and Gangsters 2004, I believe.
And when did Beautiful come out? Is that before that, like 2002?
That's before that. That's like 2002. Yeah.
I mean, Mike, I'm saying those are probably his 2 biggest crossover records as far as like the rock star music persona is concerned, and that was 20 years ago.
Well, does Missy have crossover records like the three that we just named? Gin and Juice, Beautiful, and Drop It Like It's Hot.
Yeah,
What?
like not as recent. Are you talking about recency?
What are her crossover records?
Oh, I mean Mike, The Rain.
You think that's a crossover record?
I do.
Do
Because of where
you?
they, yeah.
Man, listen, I ain't gonna lie to you, bro. I ain't never heard nobody outside of urban culture play that record. Like that's not the record that gets played on like, CHR stations.
Gossip
Now, Get Your
folks, you don't
Freak
think
On
gossip
did.
folks, 1 Minute Man, none of that.
Those are urban records, man.
Get your freak on's a
Now
crossover,
that's the
Mike.
one I would say. Yeah, I would give her that and maybe Work It. But even when we
Working too,
talk
Mike.
about those records, they didn't age well, man. But again,
The Missy and Sierra joint.
this is the thing though, Coop. I feel
Oh, she
like
got a lot of bangers, Mike.
no, I love Missy, man. I think she deserves it, but I mean,
You don't think All in My Grill? I don't know, Mike. I knew white girls that was singing All in My Grill.
nah, that's an urban record, man. And it ain't nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying this is hip hop, and I think it's great to do that. You got to do that. You got a foundation, but the way they started out this Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, they started it out with Grandmaster Flash. So all that crossover stuff really shouldn't even be part of the subject. What do you mean to music? And you can flip it however you want to. Snoop Dogg means a lot to music.
Hey, Mike.
Period.
You know, Mike, Get Your Freak On and Work It. Yeah, that's bigger than Snoop's post doggy style stuff. Post doggy style. It is. Like as far as crossover, Get Your Freak On and Work It specifically, now that I think about it. Yeah. That's bigger than Beautiful and Drop It Like It's Hot if you're talking crossover. You want to pull up the charts and see? I bet you they did way better.
I guess, but it ain't no gin and juice. It's like
you're bringing up. I said post dog.
No, but I feel you. But it's almost like trying to compare somebody's prime to the non-prime of another person. It's not an even conversation. You know what I mean?
I feel you, Mike. But here's what you have to really ask yourself: how big really was gin and juice outside the community? And
huge.
Well, Mike, that's what I'm saying. So let's say it's gin and juice. What else does he have outside the community that's as big as Work It? So let's say gin and juice and Get Your Freak On.
G thing. I mean, he's a pretty big guy.
Mike, I'm gonna be honest with you, Mike. This is from somebody that loves some Still DRE, Mike. More people know Still DRE than know Nothing But a G Thing. Nothing But a G Thing is a fucking black rap song.
Okay, so what about NWA? Again, this is inconsistencies here. You know what I'm saying?
People don't know NWA like that, Mike.
But they're in it. They're in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So what are we talking about? You know what I'm saying?
Missy didn't make something groundbreaking like Straight Outta Compton. So if like you want to say that,
but I'm just saying we're switching the criteria. It's like they're in there for they're in there for groundbreaking. You know what I'm saying, in music and accomplishments in music and not crossover records where it's like when it comes to Missy and Snoop, it's like now Snoop needs the crossover records. No, he has the type of impact. He should be in there for the same reasons the NWA's in there is what I'm saying.
I hear you.
You know what I mean? Like, we can't just start changing the rules when it comes to certain people. You know what I mean?
Mike, Work It was a number 2 single.
Yeah, it's a big record.
On Billboard's charts, Mike, not R&B, Billboard.
I understand. But again,
I don't think you
NWA ain't got one of those either. But they in there, is what I'm saying.
Get your freak on.
Beastie Boys is in there, as they should be. 36 Chambers with the Super Chat says, Mike, you're forgetting who makes these decisions. 7.
Number 7, for Get Your Freak On. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay. 36 Chambers with the Super Chat says, Mike, you're forgetting who makes these decisions. Look at the panel who decides these things. They're all 30, 35-ish. I bet. And rock and pop fans, that's why Em and Missy are there. It's not for us. Again, I think that's a fair argument, but I like to look at how it started. And it started with actual real credibility in that sense by having Grandmaster Flash first. Then they did Run DMC. I think they did Beastie Boys after that. Then they did Public Enemy. It's like, okay, cool. This all makes sense. Then NWA. Then boom, Tupac or whatever. I get that. And then boom, Biggie. And it's like, okay, well, Feel like LL's really, really getting slept on. And this is around the time when I wrote that LL article, and obviously they came back and cleaned that up. But once they jumped to Eminem and now Missy, it's like, okay, this ain't just LL being forgotten out of the mix. Now you got Snoop, Cass, Wu-Tang, Tribe. Like, there's no real argument from cultural impact to say that Eminem and Missy should be in something like this over Wu-Tang and Snoop Dogg. Now, come on, man. So, based on what you're saying with crossover records, so Wu-Tang just shouldn't get in, huh?
That's not what I'm saying, Mike.
Oh, okay.
I'm just trying to provide evidence. I will say this: Snoop has 4 top 10 hits. What's crazy, Mike? You know what the number 1 record is? He actually has a number 1 record.
Drop It Like It's Hot, probably, right? Or Beautiful.
It is Drop It Like It's Hot. Drop It Like It's Hot was number 1 for 3 weeks.
So, I was
Beautiful.
right. So,
Listen,
Drop It Like It's Hot was bigger than Work It and Get Your Freak On.
It was, Mike. So you're right.
Really?
That's what I was about to say. Beautiful. Listen to this, Mike. Work It charts at number 2 and Get Your Freak On charts at number 7. Beautiful charted at number 6.
There it is. So
and Mike Feather and Cap, Gin and Juice charted at number 8.
There we go. And this is in 1993.
And What's My Name charted at number 9.
And this is in 1993, where hip-hop music had very limited radio access, where certain radio stations in certain markets were only playing hip-hop music after a certain hour. So he had to fight against that on top of that. Yeah, man.
Now, Mike, in fairness, Mike, Hot Boys Remix broke the record for most weeks at number 1 on the U.S. R&B chart. It's been 18 weeks at number 1 on the rap charts, too.
That's crazy. But see, a lot of that stuff is predicated on when you come out, too. You know what I mean? Like, I think the charts are a great measure. But
this is why, Mike, she's the best-selling female rapper in Nielsen music history. She sold 40 million records worldwide.
Well, that's awesome. But
I'm trying to see I'm just trying to compare.
Wu-Tang,
I wonder how many
Snoop?
top 10 records she has versus Snoop. If that's what their moniker or marker is, see how many records Snoop has sold worldwide. This is what I'm saying, Mike. Like I'm trying to.
They said it's not about record sales. This is what the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame said. So record sales aren't even a part of it. NSYNC should be in there. You know what I mean? Because NSYNC did 1 million units in one day. Jay Short with the super chat said, Mike, if Snoop's music crossing over like that, why didn't they let him perform any of his songs at the Super Bowl? Missy got off 3 or 4 songs at the Super Bowl. You know what? Let's just address the elephant in the room here, because we all know that Snoop would have been able to do that Super Bowl performance by himself with his catalog with no problem. I think everybody would have known all the records that he would have performed. We saw him in the verses, all that stuff. I think the fact that Snoop has a certain image, because we also have to look at the fact that Snoop has never even won a Grammy in his whole career. Why are they shutting Snoop out of these doors in this way? Is it the fact that maybe Snoop is too real for the industry? Maybe Snoop is just not somebody that they want to credentialize like that. Because it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense that he's not even on the ballot. Like, not to be, and I know that 36 Chambers was saying the people who, make these decisions. Well, we see that Dr. Dre is always in tow with the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. He's up there speaking. He introduced LL Cool J. NWA's in there. Eminem got in there right after LL Cool J and all that stuff. So it's like, even with that relationship that the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame clearly has with Dr. Dre and Interscope, Snoop Dogg can't even get on a fucking ballot? Are we serious? You know what I'm saying? Like, it makes no sense. Like, if Dr. Dre is Phil Jackson, as we kind of uncovered on the last episode, and I want to kind of clarify some of my Dr. Dre statements too. If Dr. Dre's Phil Jackson, Snoop Dogg's Michael Jordan, man. It's what it is.
Actually, Mike, according to how it really looks, well, no, you're right. Yeah.
Makes no fucking sense. Why this man has no Grammy, he has no, nomination at least, because they know if Snoop gets on that ballot and they put it on the fans, he's getting in there. Like with the following that Snoop has and how active he is in social media and all that, he's getting in there. They don't want him on the ballot. That's the only thing I could deduce to it.
Because he made deep cover.
Right. Right. I agree. I don't think there is a bigger. I mean, I say this respectfully, man. This is because I'm just giving props to Snoop. I don't think there is a bigger rock star in hip hop than Snoop.
I don't think there's a bigger rock star in rock than Snoop. What do you
Exactly.
mean?
No, I just want to be
Like,
specific
what
that,
you mean hip-hop?
yeah, I think hip hop has the biggest rock stars, period. So, yes, I don't think there's a bigger rock star over a 30-year period than Snoop. Doggy Style celebrating 30 years this year. And that's another missed opportunity. The fact that this man didn't get inducted in for the 30th anniversary of Doggy Style is egregious. It is.
I don't know what else to say, Mike. I mean, that's the thing. It's like Snoop is like the glaring omission based on what would be their quote unquote rubric or something that resembles a criteria. And I think pretty much just comparing, because I'm pretty certain Snoop has probably sold more albums worldwide than Missy too. And
Yeah.
so, he's got the same level of hits damn near.
He's been in this longer. He's sold more records. He's bigger. I mean, let's just call it what it
More
is.
brandable and marketable, even though he made deep cover.
Why is,
Frankly, I love him.
I guess my question to the Academy or whatever, well, the Academy as well, that's the Grammys. Why is Snoop consistently getting shut out of all of these industry doors? I want to know. Especially with the people that he helped immensely seem to be walking straight through these doors and running these doors. 36 Chambers of the Super Chat says, charts alone are not indicative of pop culture and impact, of course. I hear it, he said, I hear work it way more in the world and on the internet than drop it like it's hot in the 2020s. Okay? I haven't heard work it in a minute. I think the only Missy song that I do consistently hear is maybe like Get Your Freak On, and I don't think that one aged too well. I mean, this is me as a Missy fan, though.
I was never a big fan of that record like everybody else, though, Mike. I like Lick Shots way more.
Me too. I couldn't wait until Lick Shots came on that part of the video.
Yeah, Lick Shots was a joy.
Jay Short with the Super Chat says, Tim for a hat. If Snoop isn't there, who is Dre's number one protege? Seems like they're trying to erase Snoop's musical legacy to elevate someone else. Thinking emoji. It's interesting because at the Super Bowl, I remember complaining about the fact that they didn't even let Snoop actually do a fucking song. And they marketed that whole Super Bowl halftime show as a Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre halftime show. And Snoop couldn't even get a couple songs off. But someone else was able to get a couple songs off. Antonio with the Super Chat says, Missy's greatest hits album and the hits are still banging. She wrote and produced hits in hip-hop, R&B, and pop music. Missy is groundbreaking in hip-hop and music. Of course she is.
I get that. We get that.
But what we're saying
is...
not. Okay, Antonio, do you still...
Big, Mike, both you and I, like, we agree on Missy.
Of course we agree on that. Yeah. But Antonio, do you really believe she should be in there before Outkast and Snoop and Wu-Tang?
How?
Because I know the argument with Tribe would be like...
when your album comes out, right?
Right.
97, right?
Yeah. It's based on, when you put out your first major release. Now, let's just be real here. There was never any Missy release that was anticipated like Doggy Style was. There's never any Missy release that's been heralded like Into the 36 Chambers. And I know it's unfair to do, but Missy's career is not Outkast's career. It's not. It's not.
Oh, no, I mean, it's not even.
It's not.
Yeah. We don't even got it.
And like I said, and if they wanted to do...
Might work.
And I don't like saying these things because it seems like I'm coming down on Missy, and I love Missy. You know what I'm saying? I was a fan of Missy's music when it wasn't popular to be a fan of Missy's music. We went out there and bought her efforts and all that. But I think it does a disservice to her and her illustrious career to give her this honor because she's a woman. Like, I don't think that's the right thing to do. And if you're
Is
gonna
that
go
what you
that
feel like is
route,
going on?
if you want to go that route, Lil
Oh,
Kim is
Micah's
your
favorite.
pick. No, if you want to go that route, Lil Kim is your pick. Straight up.
So you feel like they just looked to chose a woman this year? Is that how you feel?
I mean, it feels like both of these
It's like
last
an election year or some shit. We
these
gonna choose a woman
last
this year?
two these last two inductees seem like inclusion inductees. They do.
Ooh, these are diversity hires,
It's what
Mike.
it seems like. I mean, it really does. Because again, you can't tell me any reason. You can't justify any reason why these two are in there before Snoop Dogg. Can't.
Actually, I mean, Jordan. Yep, Jordan House just said it best. What about Queen Latifah? He said Lil Kim or Queen Latifah. Like we brought up Kim. What about Queen Latifah?
I love
What
Queen
about
Latifah, and
what about Light, Mike?
I think Queen Latifah and Light, I put them. I mean, obviously, you know how I feel about that, right? I put them in
How
that
you
whole
feel? What
tribe
do you
cat.
think objectively?
No, I
Right.
put that in that whole tribe argument. I already know how they really have impacted everything, but you know what people will say? Oh, they didn't sell this. They didn't have this hit. They weren't big enough. So that's why I want to hone in on Snoop, Wu, Cass, and Kim. You can't say they didn't do anything. You can't say that they weren't crossover enough. You can't say that they didn't have these big rock and roll moments in music. You know what I'm saying? Like Kim's outfits alone are legendary. The moment when she went out there at the MTV Awards with Diana Ross, she got those type of moments. She got all about the Benjamins and Quiet Storm type of moments. She's a rock star. Now,
Hold on.
obviously, Salt and Pepper, MC Light, Queen Latifah, Tribe, they all have that impact. But again, it's that same argument where we don't expect the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame to acknowledge those things.
Mike,
But Kim, you can't ignore that one.
don't forget Ladies Night and Lady Marmalade, Mike. She got posse cuts with the females where she got bar work too. There's bar work everywhere.
Are you talking about Kim's? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, Kim did it
No,
all.
no, no. This is what I'm saying. No, think about it, Mike. Lady Marmalade was big with Christina Aguilera and
That was
Pink.
huge.
No,
Huge
that
record.
shit's massive, Mike.
Yeah, probably one of the biggest records of its time.
Easy.
Eric Terrell with the super chat says, "Where's Snoop? 4-page letter or 1 in a million?" Well, you know what? I would like to say, can I interest you and let me ride? Or what about the fucking Chronic? Let's not talk about pen work for other people when it comes to Snoop Dogg.
Deep cover.
Right. Is you telling me that you bumping 4-page letter and one in a million over the Chronic and deep cover? Get the fuck out of here, man. Cut it out.
1 in a million.
Coming out, man.
1 in a million, possibly, Mike. That might be the best beat ever made. But I get what you're saying.
Come on, man. Let's cut it out, man. Cut it out, man. Like, let's just be 100% real. I don't want to take away props from somebody on a great day like this, but we got to stop just taking certain great people for granted. I don't know why Snoop continuously gets shitted on by his industry. He's given way too much to this industry to be shitted on in this way. That's the problem, man. When you got people who gave so much and don't even get that credit for whatever reason, it looks weird. It looks weird.
No, the Snoop thing is. I don't know.
And
what
yeah,
they-
Latifah did cross over, but not with her music. We
You
know,
know, Mike,
you know what I mean? Like, I love Latifah. I think she's an underrated boss in this game.
It's been a minute since we pulled up on somebody, Mike. It might be time to pull up on that ass a little bit, Mike. We might need to ask the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame some questions.
The
It's
fuck, yeah. I mean,
what exactly is your criteria? Because here's what we need to do, Mike. I know you have a list of all the inductees. We need to see if they're actually matching their criteria because, Mike, I don't think they know what they're doing.
they clearly don't. But you know what? I disagree. I think they do know what they're doing. That's the problem. You know what I'm saying? Like, they know very well.
This is institutional.
They know very well who Snoop Dogg is in this game. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, they always tapped in with Dr. Dre, so they clearly know who Snoop Dogg is in this game. They know exactly what they're doing.
Interscope. The fuck doesn't know.
Somebody said me speaking on Kim's outfits is ridiculous. I guess you don't know what the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is. It's actually a museum where you have nothing but paraphernalia from rock stars and artists. So that's why I spoke to her outfits. There would be a whole display for Lil' Kim, is what I mean.
I like to quote Snoop Dogg, don't get pimp slapped.
Eric Terrell with the super chat says, Snoop is a one-trick pony. You acting like he pop.
Ooh, very shady.
Listen, man, Snoop is clearly not a one-trick pony. He started out on some gangster shit. He went from being able to make deep cover to making beautiful to making drop it like it's hot. So he's clearly not a one-trick pony. And if we want to talk about the Pac thing, he was bigger than Pac when Pac was here. And so Pac,
and he's one of the few people that can actually say that.
Yeah. So
him and Ice Cube can say that.
Exactly. You know, Death Row was Snoop Dogg's house. You know what I'm saying? Snoop was Dwayne Wade, and Pac was joining his team.
Like to welcome you to come into the
Exactly, right. Welcome to Death Row. Jay Short with the super chat says, to me, if you were going to do this, you put Timbaland and Missy in there as a duo. Cass hurts themselves by not ever lasting a decade, and 3,000 tapping out early. I agree with that. I agree with both of those things. And I think Timbaland should get acknowledgement too, because you guys keep mentioning Aaliyah records that were big. I mean, the writing was great on it, but they were big because of Timbaland.
It was, Missy and Timbaland is a perfect marriage.
So yeah, I get what you're saying. Should be in there.
Like I told you, Mike, that 1 in a million beat though. When you talk about 1 in a million and 4-page letter, I had to pause for a second. It's like, no, I'm like that shit slap. But
no, but if we're gonna talk about Missy's writing and we're gonna add that into the arsenal, then Timbaland should be in there too, right?
No, that's the part that I concur with.
Yeah, because I mean, even if we talk about her as an artist, he produced all of her stuff.
And he produced Aaliyah and Genuine stuff, Mike.
Yeah, and the stuff that she wrote on, he produced most of that. But if we talk about her as an artist, he produced all of that stuff.
I love some Up Jumps the Boogie, Mike.
Do you?
I love Up Jumps the Boogie.
And he produced for Magoo and stuff too, man. Shout out to Magoo.
Show you. Yeah, that was the jam, Mike.
Yeah, I actually bought that album. That was one of the first albums I bought as a kid. That Timbaland and Magoo, Welcome to Our World or something like that. Love that album.
Good old days. Love to Love You, Lobster and Shrimp with Jay.
Nah, Lobster and Shrimp was on. Nah, that was on Tim's bio. That was on Timbaland's solo album. But yeah, the Timbaland and Magoo, it had the what was that?
The one with Love to Love You and Lobster and Shrimp? Is that the one?
Nah, it had Love to Love You on there. It didn't have Lobster and Shrimp.
Lobster and Shrimp is on the album.
That was on Tim's bio. It had the Knight Rider beat on there. Where they,
that was the other joint. Okay. They got that from Slick Rick's Kit. What's the scoop?
F.B says, Chef Mike is cooking tonight. Yeah, man, these people on some bullshit, man. Like, Snoop means too much to the culture of hip-hop to be omitted. I feel like that, because if he's not in there now, he's not getting on there.
Now, Mike, we've talked the glove. We've asked questions about why Snoop doesn't get the top 10 love that he's got. Snoop is currently, gotta pull up the list right quick. Snoop is currently 8th on our list, Mike, and he's already been pulled out. You know what I'm saying? So, and here's one thing that I'm noticing. Usually everybody that drops, nobody's usually dropping more than 10 spots. So he's easily a top 20 rapper all time based on,
easy.
So he's got top 20 rapper credentials. Let's just say right now, like he sits at 8 on our list. So right now, technically be top 10 rapper credentials. He's made a top 10 rap album. In my opinion, the author of 2 in terms of the writing. You know what I'm saying? Along with the DLC on the Chronic. He's obviously made top 10 hits. He's got 4.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how many records he sold worldwide, Mike. I'm pretty sure it's more than 40 by now.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure it is, too.
Like Doggy Style did the 5-piece, you know what I mean? And that was back in the day. I'm pretty certain he's exceeded that by now.
I saw somebody in the chat say that, I guess they're questioning Snoop's impact on this culture, and I think it's so disrespectful. And
that's fair. Oh, Mike, no, he hasn't outsold Missy. He's at 37. Missy's at 40.
Okay, that's cool. But his impact is stronger. Let's just, I am my person. I mean, listen, man, like all of the stuff that we give Dr. Dre credit for after NWA, Snoop's a part of that. Like that whole resurgence that they were able to execute on around 2001 time, that doesn't happen without Snoop. The Chronic doesn't happen without Snoop. Doggy Style obviously doesn't happen without Snoop. What does Death Row look like without those things happening? What does Aftermath look like without 2001 happening the way that it did? Clearly, the plan for the first single was the next episode because Snoop was on it. And then when that plan changed, they still had to put Snoop on what was actually the first single.
Here is what I will tell you. You know how, like, and I think this is part of what's hurting Snoop too. The dog father looms very, very large in this conversation, and people don't want to say it, Mike, and I'll tell you why. You know how they had the whole Belichick Brady thing going on? It's like, well, who really deserves the credit? Like, this is the best. First of all, the Patriots dynasty is the best dynasty in the history of sports. Mm-hmm. That was 20 years of greatness that's never going to be replicated in any sport, period, point blank. It's the best dynasty ever. And there are two people that are, have the majority of the credit and the blame for some of the losses that probably belong to them, and that's Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. As soon as Bill Belichick left, the savant, the coach, because here's what people forget about Belichick, and like football fans know, especially, I know the New Yorkers know, he won 2 Super Bowls as a defensive coordinator. His defensive game plan against the Buffalo Bills in the 1990 Super Bowl is in the Hall of Fame. Like, he has a game plan in the Hall of Fame. Bill Parcells went to NFC and AFC championship games before and after, but never won a Super Bowl without Bill Belichick as his defensive coordinator. So that's who Belichick is. He's got his 6 head coach rings. He's got his 2 defensive coordinator rings. But Mike, as soon as Tom Brady left, he won a Super Bowl. So if you ever wondered about who Tom Brady was, as soon as Snoop left Dre, because keep in mind, Mike, when I mean the resume was flawless until the Dog Father, Mike, it was flawless. It wasn't that it was just like great. No, Mike, it's flawless until the Dog Father. And I think that did do something to his legacy because it made it seem like it's like, oh, well, Mike got an MVP before Phil Jackson showed up. Mike was Mike before Phil got there. You know what I'm saying?
I understand what you're saying, but again, this is kind of like...
And it took a while before he became Snoop, Mike, because I don't feel like he became Snoop until I heard Paid the Cost to Be the Boss. That's the Snoop Dogg. Like the Snoop that everybody loves and adores and promotes and is marketable. That guy doesn't pop back up until Paid the Cost to Be the Boss. Like the No Limit stuff is cool, but the whole package and it coming together and the music coming together, that's Paid the Cost to Be the Boss. Because this is what I mean.
I disagree. I think Top Dog.
You think it's Top Dog?
Yeah, Top Dog's a very good. I
went back and listened to Top Dog, Mike. Top Dog's not that good.
Top Dog's dope.
No, it's not, Mike. When's the last time you listened to Top Dog?
I listened to about a couple of months ago. Now, this is what I wanted to say, though, before I forget this.
It's solid, Mike, but it's not that dope, Mike. From the Church to the Palace is better.
Before I lose this train of thought, you act like the Aftermath album doesn't exist. They both crashed and burned without each other. And people like to omit that Aftermath album out of Dr. Dre's catalog, but he needed Snoop again.
No, this is the difference. I'm going to tell you the difference, Mike. Mm-hmm. The Aftermath album happened around the time where Dre was coming on about year number 10 in the game. They had never seen somebody be that great, rhyme-wise or production-wise, that long. So people had legitimate reason to feel like it was over. We got to think back to the times that we used to deal with, Mike, when it was like running back years for rappers and producers. Like, think about this, Mike. How long was Marley Marl's run, really?
No, I agree with you. 10 years was unprecedented at the time.
So when people are saying that he fell off, it's like, well, no, people have to understand that his run was unprecedented at the time. That's why it seemed like he fell off.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is the fact that once he got with Snoop, I think that's when his production credibility got to a whole nother level. You know what I mean? Like we knew who Dre was, but I think that the standards after the Chronic and Doggy Style, they went through the roof. You know what I mean? And that Aftermath album is not that. And what was the answer to that? We need to get back with Snoop, and 2001 happened.
See, that's not total. See, when you say that, you're missing the timeline because it's like, well, no, the Firm and Eminem happened before the 2001
Well, the
album happened.
firm wasn't well received. I mean, I could skip over the firm, but yeah, I mean, if you want to add the firm into the fold, that was part of his forgot about Dre banter. He thought, say I turn pop and the firm flop. Y'all are the reason that Dre ain't been getting no sleep.
Well,
So
that's
he
what y'all get
acknowledged
for
the firm
releasing
as a
Firm
flop.
Biz instead of Phone Tap. You
But I'm
deserve that
saying,
smoke when you make those
so
kind of mistakes.
again, he had two flops on his hands, according to
Those
him.
aren't okay. But listen to what I'm saying. So I get what you're saying. Part of this, Mike, and I say this, you know, like respectfully. Well, it's nobody ever sounded like Snoop on Dre's beats before. He
Yeah.
had Ice Cube in the DLC and Easy. Like these guys are, they're a little bit more amped up and a little bit more aggressive, Mike. There's something that about when Dre switched to the G Funk sampling and when Snoop comes along, that sounds like beautiful, Mike. But listen to what I'm trying to tell you. It's just like, no. Ice Cube sound beautiful on Dr. Dre shit. So do Easy. So do DLC before Snoop ever comes along. And that's what Dr. Dre really has in this conversation. And Mike, it's not banter, it's factual.
I
Like
think
he's
Dr.
got that in the bag before Snoop even pops up. And you can't act like that didn't happen.
Well, this is what I would argue, right?
Because Easy Cube and the DLC succinctly has MCs are all great at different things for different things, but vocally different. But none of them have Snoop's voice, but different in the fact that he was able to make classic stuff with those three succinct. No, like Snoop, yeah.
This is what I would argue. This is what I would argue. I would argue that, and yes, they made great classic music together before Snoop came along. But at that time, from a production standpoint, I feel like Dre was more in kind of he was still kind of finding his sound because you had the Bomb Squad sound that was kind of floating around. I've said before that I feel like a lot of the stuff that's on Niggas for Life kind of gives you that follow the leader type of feel. But I think the sound that he came with on the Chronic and Doggy Style, which kind of became his hallmark, at least for that time period, is orchestrated by Snoop. And I think that the reason why Cube, once he went solo, he went straight to Bomb Squad and was successful with it is because he knows that stylistically, a lot of the stuff that Dre was doing at the time was very Bomb Squad influence. And I think what makes Snoop so important to Dr. Dre as a producer is he's the guy that came along when Dre actually did something that differentiated himself from everybody else sonically. You know what I'm saying?
I agree.
Because I want to say this too. My two favorite producer and rapper combinations in hip hop: number one, Snoop and Dre; number two, Missy and Timbaland. And that's just what it is. It's always been that way. And so, yes, I hold both of them to high regard. I'm not just bashing one and the other. I just think that for the certain individuals in those pairings to get props where the other one doesn't, I think it's weird.
I get what you're saying. So first of all, this this is what I'm trying to say too. I mean, and Glove talked about this. Well, the whole G Funk thing, Glove said it's like that came from me and Dre riding around.
Yeah.
Like literally talking about like what we was gonna do next. Mike, back in those days, and I'm not being funny when I say this, you're only as good as the next great sample that you hear that somebody else hasn't heard yet.
Yeah.
And so Ice Cube's a genius for using Bomb Squad because definitely inspired. Like when you hear Boys in the Hood and like all that other stuff, you know what I'm saying? It's like, no. You can tell what they listening to, Mike. They listening to the Def Jam releases that's coming out. They're listening to LL Cool J's radio. They're listening to Yo Bum Rush the show. Like, no. They're listening to Beastie Boys' License to Ill. To be honest with you, Boys in the Hood sounds like License to Ill to me. You know what I'm saying? Beat-wise, it sounds like Rick Rubin. Really.
I say that a lot. I think that Beastie Boys are a big influence on NWA. Even if you listen to
Mike.
The similarities between vocally of Eazy-E and Mike D, and the way that Ice Cube was writing was very Beastie Boys-esque.
I agree, Mike.
Yeah.
It was like Beastie Boys meets Chuck D.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I
with some
agree with
gangster
those
shit,
things.
because these niggas is from Compton and Inglewood.
No,
But
no, they
yes,
just
I
had
agree
an
with all those
edge
things.
to it.
But Mike, this is what I'm saying. Did it ever occur to you? And this is what I mean. Part of what made Dre, did it ever occur to you that he started making this stuff because he heard Snoop, and by then he had a mastery of stuff and knew what to do?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree. It's his first real protege. You know what I
Well, I
mean?
mean, because here's the thing: he had to make stuff a certain type of way because of the rhetoric, because who he was dealing with.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Snoop,
But that
Snoop,
makes
who
Snoop
Snoop
very
is
important.
vocally, gave Dr. Dre the opportunity to start using some of those samples that him and
Exactly.
Glove were talking about that they wanted to use.
Exactly. And that makes Snoop very important. With
But
the
that
Ice
makes
Cube,
Dre as a producer and a
of
coach
course.
like
Listen, we know
supreme.
how important
And
Dre
that's why I'm
is.
bringing up why the Dog Father is looming large over this musically too, because it's like that. Well, as soon as he left Dre, it's almost like people treat the Snoop and Dre pairing like Snoop was in the wilderness for about 6 or 7 years until, like, you know,
Well, see,
and
I don't like that
to a
narrative
slight
either.
degree, it's not that's not the total narrative. But Mike, there's a little bit of smoke there, Mike, and the Dog Father's a whole fire.
Well, the thing is, bro, it's like it's not easy leaving any producer, especially somebody like Dre. And the fact that, and I wanted to harp on what Ice Cube was able to do. Ice Cube was able to jump to the guys that, like you said, they clearly were listening to, and it didn't sound like a total change for his audience. You know what I mean? Like if you leave somebody like Dre or NWA and Dre making the beats at the time, you better make sure that the production side of things doesn't end up lacking. But for Cube, it was genius for him to say, you know what? I'm going to Bomb Squad because there's not going to be a drop off on any point because these guys are what we were listening to. Now, in
Like, there are
Snoop's
people in the
case,
chat that saying above the law inventing G Funk. What say to you
okay,
to that?
I'm with that. I mean, but again, we can't ignore the fact that no one's saying that Dre invented anything, but he actually made it palatable to make it bigger. He made it bigger. I'll put it that way. Michael Jackson didn't invent the moonwalk. He made it bigger. That's what it is. But as far as Cube going to Bomb Squad, that was a smart thing because the audience was. It's not going to be a drop off production
Well,
wise.
this is what
But
I'm
if you
saying.
got a
When
whole
people are
new
talking
artist, hold on,
about,
let me finish this real quick.
oh,
If you got
go
a
ahead.
whole new audience, if you got a whole new artist, right, and all he knows is working with somebody like Dr. Dre, and he's gone through this murder trial and all this other stuff and all this extra stuff going on, and then Dre leaves and he has to make an album by himself, yes, it's gonna be a drop off. You know what I mean? Like it is what it is. What do we expect him to do? He didn't have that direction anymore. And I know we look at Brady going to Tampa Bay, but Tampa Bay was set up. That's like if Brady would have went somewhere that wasn't set up, and that's what Death Row was at the time.
That ain't what Bella. See, listen to what I'm saying. You know why? You want to know why Brady left and went to a better situation or a setup situation?
Things were falling
Paid,
apart.
no, he paid attention to the things that his teacher taught him. That's why I'm bringing up the Dog Father and those albums in between. It's like, okay, so this is what I'm trying to say. And this is the part of it that you're missing, Mike. And maybe everybody else is missing it too. First of all, let's get this above the law and G Funk thing out the way. Who is above the law signed to, Mike?
I don't remember who Above the Law was signed to.
Ruthless and Death Row,
Were they?
Mike.
Okay.
Who
They
you
were
think they
signed to.
working with,
Hold on,
Mike?
they were signed to Death Row. I thought it was just Ruthless.
No, but Mike, if they signed to Ruthless and Death Row, who's the main producer for Ruthless?
Yeah, of
Where do
course.
you think? Hello, knock, 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 knock. All right, let's go ahead and get that out the way.
Well, hold on. I do want to respond to your correlation, right?
I'm not finished with the
think that
correlation.
I don't think Snoop had enough time to be under Dr. Dre's tutelage at that moment to make that a fair comparison. We can tell now in the way that Snoop A&R's projects, he learned a lot from Dre over the years, but we can't expect him to have taken away all of that game over a year or two's time and say, okay, you're on your own. And now you got to make this album that follows up Doggy Style. You know what I mean?
Okay, Mike, Mike, Deep Cover gets released April 9th of 1992. So let's say that Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg recordings start January 1992. All right?
Right.
Let's see when the Dogfather got released, Mike.
What's 90? I think that was 97. Now, hold on. I want to say this too. The
No, that's
process
cool.
of
No, you
making
said he
an
didn't have enough
album.
time, Mike. Mike, you said he didn't have enough time.
Yeah, no, and
If
I think
Deep
the
Cover gets
process of
released, if Deep Cover gets released April of '92, and the Dogfather gets released November of '96, you're telling me 4 years isn't enough? With all the classic stuff that they did in between, you're telling me 4 years isn't enough?
I think the 4 years
Because we
is.
not fair to
Hold on,
Kendrick if that's the case.
let me finish. I think the 4 years is slightly off because I think that when you're talking about making an album, because that's what we're critiquing Snoop on, right? That's a whole different process. So I think we would have to start in the album making process of Doggy Style first off, and then other than that, Dre left around '96. So we're talking about maybe 2 years of him seeing an album being put together, because outside of what they did with the Chronic and Doggy Style, what other album was Snoop around for that Dre put
Okay.
together in that time period?
No, Mike. When you're saying, I want you to listen to what you're saying out loud.
Mm-hmm.
You're saying, other than the Chronic and Doggy Style, what else did he have to go off of? Mike,
Yeah.
when has there ever been a rapper that for their sophomore album, think about this, Mike, had already made a classic album for a producer, a classic album for themselves, a classic album for the group he helped put on, and a classic soundtrack. Mike, that all happened before the Dogfather. He was set up for success based on the quality of work and the tutelage like nobody before him, Mike. You're saying,
Oh, you think Dre
Mike,
was
hold
in the
on, let me
lab for
finish. Mike,
those?
no, Mike, let me finish because I've been letting you like say this, but it's like
Mm-hmm.
if the Chronic and the Doggy Style are top 10 albums like we say they are, if Murder Was the Case is what we say it is, if Dog Food by the Dog Pound is what we say it is, oh, you know very much what a great album sounds like. And the Dogfather is no excuses based on that, Mike. And because nobody has ever been witness to that type of greatness walking into a sophomore album. So yes, he should have known better.
That's a lot of pressure too, you know.
I don't give a damn, Mike. Like if we just gonna kick facts, like I don't give a damn what
I
the pressure
feel
looks
you,
like. I
but
what the performance look like.
you're not giving the same energy to the Aftermath album. You know what I'm
Because
saying?
nobody
Like,
had made the dog. Mike, before. Listen, Mike, the Doggy Style and the Chronic are top 10 albums. How many other rappers are walking around with top 10 albums? Nobody was set up for success
so
like that.
you expect him to make another top 10 album or a
I
top
don't
50
expect him
album?
to make the worst sophomore album ever for a superstar rapper.
Well,
Period. No.
let me get
And
to
why are
these
you
super
acting like it's
chats.
okay?
Because the situations are very different. It's very
Look
different.
here, man.
The circumstances are different.
Mike in Washington, when he was past his prime, could go get you 20, Mike. The Dogfather's not even 20, and that nigga sure as hell ain't past his prime.
Again, the way that the way that Dr. Dre's production works and having all those pieces involved, and now all those pieces are gone, it is a recipe for disaster. And I think that, again, I love Dr. Dre's traditional production style, but that production style and having all of those ears in the room to an untrained ear, a young artist, it could be chaotic. He probably tried to duplicate how Dr. Dre arranges things, and it didn't turn out the way it should have.
Mike.
Or maybe he just didn't learn anything. How about that? At that point in his career, maybe he just didn't learn anything.
Doggy Style and the Chronic. Deep Cover. Murder Was the Case soundtrack. Dog Food. No, Mike, we talking Above the Rim soundtrack. No, Mike, ain't nobody trying to hear that. He watching like 100. He's literally watching like about 100 to 150 of the best rap songs we've ever heard get made like in a short amount of time. Yeah, he should have known better, Mike.
I want to get back to that.
Else,
let me get to the super chat.
Everybody else to that standard. Look at it like this, Mike. Ice Cube, straight out of Compton. Easy does it.
Ice
and
Cube's
then did what, Mike? Mike did what? No, Mike. Off 2 albums without Dre, did what?
Ice Cube's clearly different.
He did Straight Outta Compton. He helped write Easy Does It.
but
It's two
Dre,
albums, and then what did he do after those two Dr.
cool,
Dre albums? He made America's
cool.
Most.
He's different
He made
because
Death Certificate.
cool,
Boom,
cool, cool.
sophomore. No.
He's different because Dre didn't
They're not
train him
different.
up.
They on the
He's
same
not. No,
level.
no.
You
Cube is
get
not.
judged on an
No,
Ice Cube level.
no,
That's why the
no, no,
Dog
no,
Five.
no.
Mike,
Cube, Cube. You let me finish. Cube is not Dre's protege. They all learned together, so that's different. And Snoop came in under Dr. Dre's tutelage. Dr. Dre taught him how to do what he wanted him to do at the time, and when Dre was gone, he clearly didn't know what to do.
Mike, where do you think Ice Cube learned how to put the album together from?
I mean, they learned from each other.
No. He's a rapper, Mike. Like, who you think really taught him how to put an album together?
I don't know. I can't. I don't know.
Mike,
I can only assume.
I would love to interview Ice Cube and ask him because I have a bunch of questions I like to ask him.
I don't
He's
know.
an integral part of hip hop history, Mike. But I would venture to say, if you don't mind me saying so, that I think that he learned how to put an album together from watching Dre, Yellow, and Easy put together straight out of Compton, and Easy does it.
You don't think he had any input in that?
I think he had more input. I think that his input was more as the writer and the rapper. Because here's why, Mike, listen to what I'm saying. If he had more input and he was really behind the scenes like that, he wouldn't have, left when he found out what he found out. It's very, very clear who was putting stuff together behind the scenes. Projects don't get put together in the studio while the artist is recording. They usually get put together while the artist is gone. Ice Cube was the main artist and the main writer. Easy was the businessman. Dre was the producer. Yellow was the assistant producer. They put those albums together most likely because that's how it usually goes. I ain't never heard of no rapper, especially like a young rapper first coming into the game, that's like literally putting together to the project, and then later complaining about the business side that they don't know. It usually kind of goes hand in hand.
Well,
so
they all
I don't think
about
he put those projects together. Yes, I think he watched those projects get put together, and it only took Ice Cube watching a couple projects get put together for him to do what he did.
Because they were all coming up together and they were all on the same level. We're still talking about the same Ice Cube that wrote film, so he's a little different than the regular rapper. Eric Terrell with the super chat.
He's not about to do that, Mike. They're both no. Right now,
he is different. When you talk about composing a whole piece,
this is what I'm saying, Mike. No, right now, Ice Cube is number 3 and Snoop is 8. They're not that fucking different.
As far as putting together projects in those ways, and you're talking about who probably was the chief, I guess, who taught him how to put together albums. I don't know if I could say that because this man puts together films.
Somebody get me Ice Cube. We're on a roll. We done got Glove. We done got Hit Boy. Somebody get me Ice Cube.
Yeah, Ice Cube would tell the truth. Ice Cube probably taught Dre how to put together albums.
This some
Eric Terrell with the super chat.
This some bullshit you kicking, Mike.
Eric Terrell with the super chat says, explain how Snoop is bigger than LL. Come on.
I'm about to pull up some Easy interviews and find out how Straight Outta Compton and Easy Does It got made because it wasn't Ice Cube in my opinion. That's what I fucking know.
I don't know. Jay Short with the super chat says, Jay Short with the super chat says, Devil's Advocate, do you see Snoop being attached to Death Row and perceived to be a part of the East/West Coast beef as an argument against him? I mean, you can say the same thing about Tupac and Big, right? They in there. Are they trying to wait until Snoop is no longer here to put him in there or something?
I don't like how you just tried to make it seem like this Dogfather shit is okay. It's bad.
I mean, he recovered from it. It'd be different if Dogfather got put out and he never really became Snoop Dogg again. But damn, you can't put out an album and recover from it?
Took a while, Mike.
He did. He's still here. They needed him for 2001. It's
I'm
2001.
Arguing for him to be in the top 10.
It's 2001. That same album and impactful without Snoop's contributions. It's not.
How about this, Mike? See, when you say that, it's like, well, I don't, Mike, there's so many what ifs. It's like, because really in Dr. Dre's case, well, Snoop is really here because, Ice Cube left and the DOC lost his voice and he fell out with Easy. There was no plans on Snoop Dogg.
Yeah, that fell in his lap, just like Tom Brady. It's a big one that fell in his lap. But you know what? If you add, who do you think, as a listener, is the most important piece to Dr. Dre on 2001? Take yourself back to 1999, the whole rollout.
Mike, that's the thing. Okay, so here's how I feel about 2001. I don't love 2001 like y'all. Like if I was ranking his albums that he executive produced, 2001 for me might be 5.
Do you think it's an important album?
I do.
Okay.
It's hard to say that 2001 is not an important
Yeah.
album. It very much is. I had the instrumental. I have the album on instrumental on vinyl somewhere.
Yeah. It's very
Somewhere.
important.
I don't know where. Like I'm gonna find it one day. It's around here somewhere.
I mean, it opened the doors for Aftermath, to be perfectly honest. And
Keep saying that when they had platinum plaques on the wall.
you know, M's triple platinum doing 50 a week, you know. But again,
Firm did 1.5, Aftermath did platinum. So it's like before 2001 got made, there's 3 platinum albums sitting on the wall.
the numbers are the numbers are the numbers, and the numbers are great. But somebody said in the chat earlier, numbers and impact don't always, you know, correlate. And I think that the impact and numbers that 2001 gives you, I think that that whole staff, that whole chamber, that whole crew would acknowledge how important that album was for the future of Aftermath. Because even with those other albums, I don't think Aftermath had a culture until 2001 hit. 2001 set the culture for Aftermath Entertainment.
I feel you as far as culture setter, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Was it a culture setter? Yes, but viable organization before then is what I'm saying. So
Well,
it's
yeah.
like, is that Aftermath's first championship ring? Yes.
Yeah. It was still finding its way. It was putting together things, but I think that, yeah, it set the culture for what Aftermath is going to be moving forward. And you need Snoop Dogg for that. He's a very integral piece.
I'm taking a quick note on who really put together Straight Outta Compton and Easy Does It because I don't want to forget because I'm about to dig. And I'm going to pull up on Friday, Mike. And it's going to be all bad for you because you and I know. You and I know, Mike.
Leroy Green with the super chat says, Coop, the Dog Father was Snoop's Doctor's Advocate, the album where you fall out with the label owner and he kicks you out and says, record with nothing.
Now, Mike, I don't know why Leroy said that. The Doctor's Advocate is 50 times better than the Dog Father.
I don't think he was comparing quality. I think he was just saying
I don't
the
give
concept.
a damn what he's comparing. Let's compare this. When the game was left without Dr. Dre after one album, what did he do?
Yeah. But you know what?
So if
Can I say something? I want to answer. I want to answer that. I want to answer that. I want to answer that.
What part of this are we not understanding about what I'm saying? I'm not saying that I'm right. I'm just saying the evidence everybody keep making me look right. It's like,
I want to respond to what you said. Can I respond to what you just said? Because Game has said it out of his. No. Game has said it out of his own mouth that Dr. Dre has never made a beat for him. So Game didn't have the type of tutelage from Dre that Snoop did. I think Snoop was kind of Dr. Dre dependent in a way where Game. Let me finish. Can I finish? Snoop was Dr. Dre dependent in a way that Game wasn't because Dr. Dre didn't really work with Game like that. Game said that himself. He said when he said that about Kanye doing more for him in a week than Dre's done over his career, that's what he was talking about. So yes, he was able to make Doctor's Advocate because he really didn't work with Dre like that anyway, where Snoop actually did. And when Dre was gone, Snoop really didn't know what to do. It's different.
I'm going to tell you what, Mike. You keep on making excuses for Snoop. I feel like we got a much better chance of talking to the game than talking to Ice Cube probably. Reach out to the game. Bullshit.
I sound like you talking about KD defending Snoop over here.